Hey free-to-play gang, welcome back to another video. So these are the Espers in action, and obviously I'm on the testing server, right? So that's why we can take a look at the new Espers, and there are actually some changes. And for one, Zhong Nan is actually probably one of my most favorite Espers right now, and if I do get him, I'm gonna be super excited. So let's take a look at why this is the case, right? Let's take a look at his skills again. So the first skill, nothing changes, attacks one enemy, deals some damage, and 70% chance of silencing them for one turn. No big deal, right? But let's take a look at second skill. So attacks one enemy twice, each hit deals 100% attack damage, and each hit increases his AP by 20%, so he's gonna gain a lot more turns like that. And the first skill also dispels all buffs from the enemy with a cooldown of just 3 turns. So this is really strong in my opinion because of the short cooldown that allows him to gain a lot of turns very quickly, right? But furthermore, let's take a look at his third skill. There is a major change over here. So Heavenly Justice, instead of attacking one enemy, this time he attacks all enemies twice. Now each hit silences enemies for 2 turns, and if an enemy is already silenced, so that means if your first hit silence and the second hit silences, or maybe if they were already silenced in the first place, you then extend all their ability cooldowns by 1 turn, so you can actually extend up to 2 turns for every single enemy. Now when this ability is on cooldown, if enemies cast their basic abilities, this increases his AP by 10%. Now the thing is, if you silence the enemies, they can only use their first skill, and as such, they are going to use their first skill, which is going to push your AP as well. So the thing is, he's, in my opinion, really strong. Not only is he a shimmer type, which means that he's probably not going to miss at all, but this third skill here is so powerful as well. I really like this, right? So after using Heavenly Justice, he's going to gain back his turns so much more frequently, and his cooldown is only at 4 turns, which means that he excels in, I think, 2 different sets right now, in my opinion, or rather 3 sets. Okay, so the first is obviously going to be Windwalker, and the second is probably going to be Ocean Waves. I think Ocean Waves is going to be really good for him to cycle through all of his skills with the amount of AP pushing that he has on himself. And third is probably going to be the Zeus set as well, because do take note that on his second skill, he has a good chance of stripping buffs and then landing a Zeus stun like that. And his third skill is just a multi-hit AoE, which is awesome with Zeus. So all in all, I think he's very exciting, right? So let's take a look at his max stats. He has 103 speed. I do not know what he gains from his ascensions, but apart from that, his attack is relatively high. His HP is also pretty decent, and I think in general, his stats are just pretty good. So in terms of being a controller, he is excellent in my opinion. Now finally, his captain ability is going to be accuracy in point war, which is completely useless. Now let's talk a little bit about Ashley as well. So she is going to be the rate up Esper. She's going to be in the SSMs, right? So let's take a look at her skills again. I don't think anything really changed over here. So you attack one enemy, deal a certain amount of damage, and an 80% chance of reducing speed for 2 turns. Nothing much to talk about that. Now Divine Retribution attacks all enemies, deals 100% attack damage, and inflicts attack down on them for 2 turns. Now, if her attack is higher than the enemies, you have a 50% chance of inflicting stun for 1 turn. Now, you do take note that you will need accuracy for this to land, right? But it also has a short cooldown of 3 turns, which is pretty good. In my opinion, if you want to run her as a controller, this works as well. And then finally, her third skill here, with a freaking passage over here. Okay, so Daring Spirit gains defense up and a shield for 2 turns. Now, shield strength is equal to 200% of attack, and you gain 5 Bifrost stacks. 5! Now it grants attack up to all allies for 2 turns as well, and then you attack all enemies, deals 120% of attack damage, and at the start of combat you gain 3 Bifrost stacks. So this is what Bifrost does, right? So it is undispellable. When an ally triggers a crit within their turn, they deal additional true damage equal to 10% of the target's max HP, which is not very exciting in my opinion, up to 100% of Heimdall's attack. So it actually scales off her own attack and reduces the target's AP by 10%. This is the part that interests me a lot more. Can be triggered only once per target per turn. So the thing is, if you have an ally who is a Liling and he does an AoE attack, you're only going to reduce 10% AP on every enemy. You're not going to reduce like 30% AP, right? For example, that's too broken, right? But furthermore, when an ally is attacked by a critical hit, you then increase all allies' AP by 10%, and you can only be triggered once per turn as well. So for any given turn, be it an enemy's turn or your ally's turn, you can only change AP by up to 10%. So the way that you want to make her really strong is to run her with a lot of AoE damage dealers so that you can reduce the AP of a lot of enemies at the same time. And conversely, if the enemy attacks you with a crit, you're going to gain 10% AP for all of your allies, right? This is really strong in my opinion. This is a really good buff. Now, when the effect is triggered, you then consume this buff up to 1 stack per turn, which makes a lot of sense because you can either receive crits or deal crits. Max buff stacks is 7. This is a really good skill. I feel like this character is so strong because her buff affects your allies as well, which means that all of your allies are now AP controllers, and any attack that crits on your allies are then going to push your AP to allow you to counter attack immediately. So I think Ashley is actually very exciting. Now this skill has a cooldown of 4 turns, which is amazing. I feel like this is a really good thing for her. And then finally, her leader buff is just attack by 30%, pretty similar to Liling. So I think given her kit over here, she's not just strong in PvP, but she's really strong in PvE as well. And by PvE, I'm referring to Cube Miracle and Temporal Tower, and possibly even APEP as well, because she does a lot of single hits. And the thing is, she also gives attack up to your allies, which means that yeah, she's definitely very good for APEP. And now finally, let's take a look at her stats. So she has, wow, really good attack power over here, which is, it synergizes very well with her kit, and she has the highest base speed in the game as well, 106. Oh, sorry, I mean second highest, because the highest being Tricky with 107. But obviously, we need to take a look at Ascensions as well. Now finally, let's move on to Elliot. I think now that I'm taking a look at all of their skills again, I feel like Elliot is probably the least exciting Esper among the three. So let's take a look at his skills again. Scholar Star attacks one enemy, deals damage equal to 30% of attack plus 4.5% of your max HP, and an 80% chance of taunting a target for one turn, okay? Now second skill here, attacks one enemy 3 times. Each hit deals damage equal to 20% of attack plus 3% of max HP. Now each hit also has a 50% chance of taunting the enemy for 2 turns, and gains a shield for 2 turns afterwards. And the shield strength is equal to 25% of max HP, which is huge. This is a really big shield. And this ability will not miss. And given the number of hits that you're dealing and the proc chance of this skill, you are probably gonna land a taunt whenever you use second skill. But I think that's about it, right? Now moving on to the third skill, Pure Enlightenment, attacks one single enemy, deals 270% of attack damage, and dispels all buffs from the enemy and extends all their cooldowns at the same time. Now afterwards, you gain a crit resist for 2 turns, and when attacked, you reduce this ability's cooldown by 1 turn, triggered once per turn. So you cannot reduce multiple cooldowns when you receive multi-hits, for example. And this skill has a cooldown of 5 turns, which I think is okay. So all in all, I do feel like this Esper is probably not as exciting as I thought that he was when I first looked at his skills, right? But now that I take a look at his skills again, I think he is okay. I think he is not bad. So I'm not too heartbroken that he is not a rate up Esper in my opinion. I think Ashley is a much more interesting choice in my opinion. Now increases all allies' HP in holo battles by 40%, which is not bad. It really synergizes very well with his kit. And finally, let's take a look at his stats. So he has, wow, 16,000 HP. I think he can do quite decent damage if you build him with crit damage and HP, right? I do think so. But obviously we need to test it out a little bit. But if you can give him like 60,000 HP, I think he has the potential to do quite a fair bit of damage. He has pretty good speed as well. So that's about it for the new Espers. Let me know down in the comments below how you feel about each of these Espers and what are your opinions about them as well. Let me know what you agree or disagree with me about these Espers. And anyway, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, it really helps the channel, and subscribe for more Dislyte content. Now with that said, this has been Free to Play, and as always, I will see you in the next video.